Hello and greetings. Here we are, already week 5 in OP200, which is pretty fantastic. It means the end is near. So that is great. We also know what that means, right? Week 5, if you've got anything missing, I just sent out an email about that. Makeup period, your makeup opportunity closes on this upcoming Tuesday, May 16th at 11:59 p.m. Central Standard Time. If you have something to submit, you need to contact me ahead of time so that I can actually open it and submit it. So, uh, you know, before 6 p.m. on Tuesday would be your latest chance. Better to reach out to me now, tomorrow, over the weekend, Monday, so we can get that in and submitted. Additionally, double check your links to make sure those links are functioning because once you submit, and if you submit on Tuesday with dead links, that's the end of the road for you. Okay. Makeup period's closed. You already have an opportunity to submit 3 makeup assignments, which is a lot of work to make up. So take advantage out of it. If you don't want to, then that's your decision. But the opportunity is there for you. If you fell short on any quizzes from weeks 2 or 4, if you missed points on your discussion from weeks 1 and 3, get back in there, knock that out. Maximize your points. Try to go from a B to an A. Try to go from a C to a B. Right? Constantly pushing. So we're in that final push, and I know that it gets crazy also, not only with week 5, but also then we do remember, as you all know, week 6 then comes in and you've got to submit week 6 on Sunday. Again, that's a shortened week. The sooner you submit that, the sooner you can relax. And again, that closes on Sunday at 11:59, May 21st. If you submit a dead or broken link, that's it. Again, the control and the power is in your hands. Check your links, double check your links. That's all you have to do before hitting that send. Okay. Or even after hitting it, and check it, revise it, make sure that it's successful and the settings are correct. Okay. Otherwise you're missing out on those points. So enough of that. You all know what to do. You've been in these programs for long enough. So let's rock it out. Let's finish strong. Okay. Um, any questions regarding that? I don't think so. Um, but if you do, just let me know or reach out. On to other bits and pieces of information. If you haven't submitted your week 4 assignment as of yet, you still have until 11:59 p.m. tonight to get that in during the late period. Otherwise, after that, some makeup. So use it if you need it. But either way, let's get this work submitted. Now, hopping into this week, which is pretty cool. It's a little bit, I find it a little bit, more interesting, at least for me. And I hope for you too. It's a bit more something that I can relate to. Tech and software, hardware, these ideas of systems, right? Where there's a lot of technical jargon and terminology can get a little bit overwhelming at times. I get it. It would be the same. Remember, thinking about it in putting things into perspective is always really good, right? If you were to talk to somebody that is tech based and has a tech career, that's going to be really normal for them. All of those terms that we've just been learning about, super normal. Okay. That's their wheelhouse. Now, they might find it super strange that we're talking about, oh, get your mise en place and make sure you pull out that rondeau and Sanger and ensure that you have a proper Maillard reaction, and talking about umami, right? Those words and terms would be very strange to somebody in another sector of an industry, right? So always give yourself that breath of fresh air and say, okay, maybe this is a little bit out of my comfort zone, but it's great, right? Gaining knowledge and understanding how that's going to be impactful on an establishment that you're either running, managing, or owning is really important down the line. Again, remember, you can always, having that base knowledge is important. And then if you were to be doing something, having those other contacts and touch points and reaching out to experts, right? That is their knowledge and base foundation set. That's how we exchange and work together. So always using what you need to help you move forward, right? So going to somebody that might be more knowledgeable about software and hardware programs or systems or things like that can be really beneficial, especially if you're feeling a little bit like, just not as confident in that area. Now, I've sent out some articles about automation and technology, like the pizza robot or the Sally the salad maker, right? You've got completely remote and external kiosks that you can order, and then a food comes into a little box and you retrieve it. We're not even like, it's totally contactless, no person to person. There's a lot of this happening, right? Um, the, Restaurants and technology have been merging for years, right? And now we're seeing even more of that. Did anybody note the kind of craze that happened with NFTs that happened? Oh, I think it was at the near the end of the pandemic, and NFTs and this mega or meta world or metaverse or whatever, and NFTs and NFT art and NFT restaurants were kind of a thing. You know, that really kind of fizzled out, right? What was that? Well, that was tech and restaurants merging and trying to grab a hold of a trend. Did it really fall through? I don't know. But when we look at some types of technology, we're gonna see that they will have longevity in the industry. Some will come and go, and others will be here to stay. Just like we will see trends versus fads, right? If you think about menus and writing menus, there are fads and there are trends. Trends have more staying power. A fad is kind of, it comes in and it goes out. Okay. It doesn't stay on menus forever. So like I would say, you think about like people were talking about like unicorn milkshakes or unicorn donuts or something. That was probably a hot fad for a while. And not many places are still offering these unicorn donuts or whatever the heck they were, right? But kale salad came in and kale has not left the menu, right? Same with Brussels sprouts, right? Everybody used to think Brussels sprouts were gross. Then people started frying them up, or roasting them, adding bacon to them. And now all of a sudden Brussels sprouts and chorizo and Brussels sprouts and bacon are still on menus, right? So that's more of a trend as opposed to a fad. Okay, so you see those differences, right? So really analyzing and thinking about automation and technology, what's going to be more fad like, what's trend like, what's going to stay. If you look at fast food establishments, right? There's a ton of automation already present in fast food establishments. There's a ton of automation in massive production in warehouses of food products, right? Automation is present, it's alive, it's thriving, it hasn't stopped. So that's something that's really going to be here to stay, especially when you look in the next 10, 20 years, development, et cetera, et cetera. Now when you think about robot arms cooking all of your food, you know, I want to just bring this one thing up because I think it's really important to talk about. As a chef, as a culinarian, as a baker, as a pastry chef, right? We all know that products have variability, right? And slight changes. So for example, a tomato in winter versus a tomato in summer has completely different flavor profile, right? So I might need to add a hint of sugar, okay, to and cook my tomatoes and roast them a little bit in winter when the tomatoes are lacking in flavor, lacking in sweetness, lacking in color and umami, right? I have to modify that and cook that, but I can only know that because I'm tasting and I'm cooking, right? Are those robot arms there tasting and cooking and saying, yeah, well, this tomato sauce certainly doesn't taste like it tasted in the summer? No, they're not, right? So that's a big difference of when we think about like when people think, oh, well, our robot's going to replace us. To some extent, in some facets of the industry, sure, 100%. Great. You know, we think about machines that have replaced physical work, right? If you look at a massive prep machine that's chopping and processing a bunch of food, right? Literally just doing, let's just say, a general, small, rough chop. I could throw that into a machine and have it crank it out versus a person doing it. I just save time and money. Now I had that initial cost that I had to buy that machine, but I just freed up that person that's normally spent 2 hours chopping those same vegetables. The machine did in 15 minutes. The machine did it in 15 minutes. Now I just freed up an hour and 45 minutes, and that extra person is now cranking out that work. Okay. So there are times and places where we can see that it can be really valuable, and other times where we see that that's just not going to happen. Right. You have to adjust. You adjust your flavors and your cooking times based on the ingredients. Some tomatoes are going to have, I like to just talk about tomatoes because I think that they're really uh, pretty obvious to think about, like a dry tomato versus a really juicy tomato, right? So you think even about the reduction time, or if you added this to a dish and the dish is just not moist, well, the tomatoes were super dry because they were, not harvested during season, right? They're mealy. They don't have that flavor. A robot are they necessarily going to be, noticing that? No. Okay. But if you look at mass production that's cranking out like um um let's say canned refried beans in a warehouse production. Beans are uh pretty uh consistent in their flavor profile, spices as well. And maybe those minute little differences aren't going to be super impactful, right? Um, Compared to like a tomato sauce that you're using fresh, summer tomatoes versus winter tomatoes, right? You think about tomato products that are canned, jarred, um, uh, chopped, diced, stewed, crushed, all of those, tomato paste, tomato puree, all of those products are being made during the main harvest season, right? You're not cranking, companies are not cranking out those tomato products in the dead of winter when that's not the most flavorful tomatoes. That's happening in the peak of harvest time, so that is consistent, and they're moderating all that. So then their products that go out all are staying consistent. And then you have a consistent product that then you incorporate into your dish, which is very different than using fresh products in that you're going to have more variability than that. All right. So I just want you to start thinking about how there can be pros and cons, benefits, what are detractors from it as well. So let's hop a little bit more into the old class page here really quickly and pull this up. And we're going to get into a little bit more of this automation and cybersecurity as well. But I wanted to not skip over the fact that that there is the talk of automation here. And that is important to take a dive into. Let me just pull up the discussion forum really quickly first, so we can knock that out, and then we'll go into your assignment and lessons. All righty. So automation right here. Okay. All right. Follow and respond to the prompts. This one, you do have minimum requirements, 3 to 5 sentences of explanation per, bullet point. You've got this one here. So do you feel that restaurant computer systems, such as the ones that give guests full control over ordering their own meals from the comfort of their tables, will eventually eliminate the need for servers and wait staff? Explain why or why not. Okay. Then when you're talking or replying to your classmates, do you explain if you agree or disagree based on their course content and personal experience? We've seen the tablets coming to tables have been around for that was a conversation piece when I was in culinary school, which was about 20 years ago. We have not seen that hidden widespread, okay, yet. Now, I do want to say, let's have a quick little conversation about that, because I think it's important. Are there certain types of establishments where that might work? Tablets at every every booth, every table has a tablet, and there's no interaction with the server. You just walk in, you sit down. It would be like, imagine this. Let's picture this. Think about when you're at the grocery store, right? Or at a clothing, like a TJ Maxx or whatever, or a big massive warehouse kind of department store. And they put the light on when the cashier number 6 is ready, right? So you get a light. I'm just trying to let's have fun with this and think about where technology could bring. Okay, so you walk into a restaurant, there's no host or hostess, there are no servers. Okay, but you've got a line and people are waiting, and you see that first person in the line. Maybe you put in, maybe there's a tablet at that front entrance, and it's how many people you have. Okay, so table for 4, boom, and it pops up and there's a light, and you're that first in line and you're just waiting. Okay, maybe there's even like separate lines for parties of 2 or 1 to 2 guests, 3 to 4 guests, because you think about how you would sit, right? A 2-top, a single person is going to sit at a 2-top, right? Or 2 people can sit at a 2-top. Whether you're 3 or 4 guests, you're going to sit at a 4-top, right? Because you're not going to squeeze yourself into a 2-top, et cetera, et cetera. So maybe you have like separate rows where you go in and they now, okay, boom, table number 4 is ready. And you're going to go to table number 4, you sit down, you plop down, and start perusing through the tablet and you start ordering. And, so now, we think about, well, so is there going to be a busboy? Is there going to be a server delivering your food? Or, because the way that the question is phrased, it says, will it eventually eliminate the need for servers and wait staff? Okay. So I want you to think about that in also 2 different parts, right? Are we talking about now there's the wait staff and there's the interaction where they're taking the orders or answering questions, versus the person, and it can sometimes be the same person delivering the food itself. Now, what happens when you have a question? Is there a person that's like on duty that's walking around and you press a button and again that light on that table goes up? Or perhaps is it a chat bot, right? Where when you hop onto a website and it's like, hi, I'm Sandy from sales tech. Do you have a question? And it's yeah, how many slices of pickle come on my burger or whatever it is. Okay. And Sally's going to respond to you and tell you there's 3 slices. Or is gluten-free available? No, it's not. Sorry, we don't do that. Go somewhere else. Or yeah, there's an upcharge of $1.50 per bun. Okay. Who is delivering the food? Is the food then coming out on robots? Is it coming out on a conveyor belt? Where is this going? Now, also, I want you to think about what type of establishments. Is that something that would work for fast food, fast casual? Is that going to work in fine dining settings? Would that work at a, think about all the different places, a diner, a cafe, a cafeteria, a buffet style. When and how would that work? What would it look like? I want you to think about the big picture. Really think about this, okay? Think about what potential is, because it is fun to think about, right? Again, there's the old school. Again, I'm super old school. I want a menu in my hand. I really do not like QR codes for my menu. I don't want to have my phone at my dinner. Or if I'm sitting down, I want to take a menu. I want to be able to look casually. I don't want to strain my eyes. Maybe because I'm working and I live on a computer and all the time, but I just don't want it, right? It's not part of the dining experience that I find enjoyable. But will I say that I absolutely love that I can hop onto a website, find out what food there is, what order, what menu a specific restaurant has, and I could potentially send a text message or make a call. Or I could use a delivery app that a lot of people do. I still like to go directly to my restaurant. Why? Guess what? Also, classes is something I want to track into. What is DoorDash? What is Grubhub? What percentage are they taking out of your sales, right? There was a huge conversation piece during the pandemic, and actually legal cases were brought up because they were those third-party platforms were taking a huge percentage from restaurants that were just barely struggling to survive. Do we think that is just? Do we think that is fair? Do we think that we need regulation in that? Okay. Now let's think about the cost perspective of, using tablets and eliminating servers. These days, there's a huge conversation constantly about what do we pay servers? Why do I have to, you'll hear the argument of why am I as a diner responsible for basically paying the server's salary, right? A lot of servers get paid very small and they're dependent on tips to survive, right? Well, how is that not the responsibility of the restaurant owners themselves? Right? Now, there's always been industries that are service and tip based, right? You think about drivers, okay, cleaners, cooks, chefs, masseuses, estheticians, your barber, right? Your hairdresser. Oftentimes, those are always experiences where you tip based on the service, the interaction, right? Because that can really enhance or make or break the experience, right? Say you went into a restaurant and you had two different restaurants. They both had really great food. There was no difference in the quality of food, but one server you had was awesome and the other freaking stunk, right? Maybe they were having a bad day. Maybe they just have a bad attitude, right? And where are you going to go back to, right? And who are you going to give a bigger tip to? You're giving a bigger tip to somebody that made your experience more enjoyable, and that you enjoyed it, even though that the food was the same, right? So where does then this, think about what is that robot? Well, we've eliminated perhaps tips, right? Oh, that robot was really fast. Well, there's no we're not looking at the robot's lifestyle or how speedy. They're going to have the same voice because it's a robot. They're, going to get there all at the same time because they're all programmed similarly. So now we've eliminated tips, right? What is that cost that restaurants would incur for getting those robot servers or the conveyor belt or systems? So it's just really kind of fun to start playing around and thinking about what type of settings would this work? How would that have an impact? Could this be beneficial? Could this be detrimental? What do we think? Where would it work? To me, not something like that is never going to work in fine dining because part of the fine dining is the engagement with the servers, the sommelier, the hostess, the maitre d', right? The explanation, perhaps a conversation with the chef or a request or a better understanding. A robot or tablet's not going to work in that type of dining setting, but it could do very well in a place like a fast casual burger spot, right? Where I want to sit down and place my order. I don't want to stand in line and place my order. And this makes it really easy and the food comes to me and it's great. And I don't even want to talk to anybody. So today I want to go to that type of place. So you really want to think about that, right? So many different levels and impacts that are going to happen. So make sure you have some fun and think about outside of the box with that for your week 5. Hello, week 2. Where are we? 5 assignment. Now, I'm going to also pull up the assignment for this week, and then we'll go into a bit more of lessons for this week. But I just want to cover assignments first so we get all those done and try to spend less time on slides this week. So as you've read this week, right, your textbook and what you're going to be doing, automation has been changing the way people work and businesses operate. In recent years, the pace of change has only accelerated. For this assignment, you'll need to research how automation has changed a food service business and analyze the impacts on the employees who work for that business, okay? You're gonna use this document. Again, like always, make a copy. Stay safe and healthy out there, class. And let's take a look. All right, so you need to do some definite research on this and how automation has changed the food service business and analyze impacts to the employees who work for that business. Okay, you want to use complete sentences, 3 to 5 sentences. minimum per bullet point. All right. First, choose a food service business where automation has changed the way that business operates. Provide a brief description of the company and why you chose this company for your analysis. If automation hasn't been impacted in this restaurant, don't choose it. You won't be able to do this, right? So if you can't answer the question, skip, move on, find another place. Basics, right? Now, how has automation changed this business? Provide some specific examples and links to any news stories, websites. If you found a magazine article, to that, whatever. But we need information. We need to see that. We want now. We want not just those links, but need to actually have you writing about that in addition to the links and the sources that you're using. All right, and excuse me. Which positions do you believe are most at risk for being replaced by automation at this company? Why do you think this? Is there anything that you can think that the workers in these positions can do to keep from being replaced by automation? You know, I think about one of the biggest things. I think I was talking about this in class a week or two ago. I'm not sure. Could have been another course, a class I'm teaching. But tortillas, handmade tortillas, right? So if you're working in an establishment and the whole thing is that you're making handmade tortillas and they're delicious, right? That's great. But what if your demand is just really increasing and the amount of staff that you need to hire to crank out enough of those handmade tortillas and at the pace, it doesn't make sense when you could actually buy a machine that's automating and cranking out tortillas and processing and pressing. And now you've got all of those tortillas coming out. Is there a slight difference in the texture? 100%. Is it noticeable enough that your customers are going to say, oh, I'm not coming back for that? It depends. It depends upon, you know, if your whole thing is handmade tortillas, well, switching to automation might not be what you want, but switching to automation might not be the goal of your company and your vision of your restaurant, because if you're really talking about like from scratch cooking, that's not necessarily going to fall in line with that anyhow, right? So it might just not work. Okay. But maybe that's not, you know, handmade tortillas are not the angle of your company. You're just making the best taco in town. And you realize you can still make some of the best tacos in town without doing handmade tortillas. And you've got a tortilla press. And now you've just not only increased the output, the amount of sales you can do, but guess what else you can do? You can also start marketing and selling those tortillas you're cranking out. Maybe you're selling, maybe you say, hey, you know what? People love our chips and salsa. Maybe we should actually start selling our chips and salsa as well. So thinking we might even want to, you know, see where we can go with this. So we're gonna put a little extra spot out and we're gonna sell our salsas and chips. So it's like that cool thing. You're leaving the restaurant, but tomorrow you still got some chips and salsa to enjoy. So thinking about those different types of things, right? Or you look at automation of, you know, like how donuts are made, right? Let's just look at this. I just want to give you guys examples of this, right? I wonder if we can get a little bit of a video here. Yeah, let's take a look here. Ads stink. To get that YouTube Pro or whatever the heck it is, where you don't have to deal with ads. All right. Back in class. I just want you to take a look at the automation process here so we can start thinking about things in a bigger picture.
What's so delicious about a glazed Krispy Kreme hot off the line?
We hot air, and I think that's the close to the definition of IPA.
French donut dates back to 1937. The founder, his name was Bernard Murdoch, purchased the recipe from a manufacturer, opened up his first donut store. Today, Krispy Kremes are based on that original recipe, a top secret blend of ingredients. I will tell you that there is water in these things. Krispy Kremes lighter than cake donuts. Wow. And mixes for then they need to know to check. Next, it sits in the hopper to rest for 10 minutes. At about 120 and 118 degrees, sets up. Connoisseurs, you agree on one thing.
All right. So as we can see right there, automation, right? Now, did that start off with all that equipment? Not necessarily, right? And you can see that style of that donut essentially process, right? People still needed to be involved in that, right? Oftentimes automation does not, it eliminates the need for some people, but not all people. And always the goal is consistency. Well, most often consistency and efficiency, time, right? Standardization, quality, which we know that has a huge impact on customer satisfaction, right? And return customers because of that consistency and quality. That it's that same Krispy Kreme with that little line right in the middle, right? Because it's been flipped from one side to the other side and it's perfectly timed. It's 2 minutes, it's 30 minutes for rising. It's set at this degree. It's all very much calculated. Okay. And streamlined production. And Krispy Kreme is all over the world. Okay. So we look at something like that in automation and see how, wow, yeah, that probably had a huge impact going from, hey, we started off with just we're just frying in batches in a fryer. We're doing all of these in our own, process and stage. That automation really helped. Okay. And brought that company into really an internationally known market, right? So without that automation, would it have ever reached that level and scalability? No. Automation has a huge impact on scalability, right? Look at fast food establishments. Who's making, what are you making from scratch at a lot of these fast food restaurants? Some of them, yes, others no, right? So there's automated products that are, steps that are going in behind the scenes before even that product gets there, because it's actually partially cooked or already processed or put in a bag before it needs to be reheated before even getting to the restaurant, right? So thinking about all these different type of levels, right? Again, we know that food service and the food service industry runs from, super processed to super handcrafted. Okay. Where does automation fit into that? Where is there a place? What are the goals of an establishment, right? These are things that you need to be thinking about and analyzing and thinking, where could it be beneficial? How could it be beneficial? Or maybe not. All right, let me pull up another little thing here I want to get into. And get on that. We've got both of those pulled up, which is great. And we're set on that. Let me just pull up these slides. Does anybody, Rob, you have any questions on that so far? Let us get into the good old slideshow so we don't miss anything here. I want to make sure we're all good on that front for y'all. And that'll round us out for class as well once we get through this. And then only one class after that, guys and gals. All right, automation, here we are. Like I said, I just do find this fascinating. It's not something that I like. For me, cooking is something that's far from something automated. But it's how restaurants become profitable and scalable, and not all, but oftentimes it's related to that, right? So technology as automation, right? Of course, we're talking about appreciate the importance of not only just actual automation of, and we're talking about processing of food, but now let's talk about that automation of processing of systems, right? Processing control, office of automated systems, right? Operational management of a business. There are always these two different sides of automation, okay? Two services, okay, and establishments. We've got, of course, thinking about decision support, information reporting, executive information decision making in the organization, access to the potential for using business information systems in different parts of an organization as well, understanding and assessing potential threats to a computer-based information system, right? Threats and benefits, right? We always want to be looking at pros and cons. Just like we're analyzing in week 2 and week 4 about pros and cons, just like you were thinking about pros and cons to a dish, adding a change in menu, a hiring or firing staff, always analyzing pros and cons, right? Buying new equipment, buying new hardware, implementing new software, getting, jumping on the bandwagon of DoorDash and Grubhub, or staying, to just your own type of delivery service. All of these things have a huge impact on how you run your business and what your core values and mission statements and values of your business are. Now, of course, analyzing decisions, courses of action from professional, ethical, and moral perspectives, appropriate legal courses of actions in keeping with professional codes of conduct, and understanding and responding to issues and concerns. All right. So technology versus automation, different, right? Managing information security controls your information systems based on 2 underlying principles: the need to ensure the accuracy of the data held by the organization, and the need to protect against loss or damage. So, for example, we've got threat and vulnerability, which equals your risk. That's kind of how we always, threat, vulnerability is that your general assessment of risk. Okay, threat, a new incident with potential to harm a system. Vulnerability, right? Plus the weaknesses that known weaknesses that hackers could exploit. equals the risk and the potential for damage when a threat exploits a vulnerability. All right. Now, managing your information security. Most common threats faced by organizational information systems include accidents, natural disasters, right? Sabotage, vandalism, theft, and good old hackerunios, hacking, okay? Unauthorized use. So again, you've got those different types, right? Threats to information that could be human causes or natural causes, right? Malicious intent, which is kind of in that sabotage and vandalism. Benign intent, random, targeted. You know what's even crazier? If there's time, I'm going to pull up something that it was wild. People were utilizing Google reviews to do place very bad reviews, and then essentially using that review to get money out of the company. Wild, right? I'll try to find that article and send out to you guys. I thought it was fascinating. So again, tech first automation, managing information, your common threats faced by the organizational information system. What does it do? Okay, how does it spread to other computers? Right? And does it infect a file? And is there a need for the user action for it to spread? So virus inserts malicious code into a program or data file. Okay, it uses user transfers infected files to other devices, and yes, it infects the file, and there is a need to be user action for it to spread. Okay, worm. Right, just kind of like it says, it exploits a vulnerability. It finds that loophole. It finds that access in an application or operating system and takes advantage of it, right? Uses a network to travel from one computer to another, okay? It does not infect files, and there's not a need for the user action for it to spread, okay? And then Trojan masquerades as performing a benign exaction, right? Benign meaning nothing malicious, okay? Or aggressive there, but also does something malicious. So it comes in benign, but then does something bad, all right? So it tricks the system. User transfers the Trojan file to other computers. So that's a specific one, right? I'm transferring that. It can infect files, and there is a need for the user action for it to be spread. Okay, you're clicking yes, opening or transferring it. Now, 5 major categories of information system controls. You've got physical protection, physical barriers, right? Physical. Biometric controls, right? We know we've heard a ton about biometric recognition. Unique characteristics of an individual in order to restrict access. Voice prints, fingerprints, face recognition. You've got that Google, or I think iPhone opens up by your face. Maybe Android does it too. I don't know. But those are all new technology, right? Well, what if I was asleep or I was taking a nap and somebody wanted to get into my phone? They just picked my finger up and put my fingerprint on it, held it up to my face. That doesn't seem that safe, does it? Now, probably have to be pretty sketchy to be doing that, but things can happen, right? Who knows? Telecommunication controls, verify the identity of the user. Example, those are passwords. You know, even how our system that we work here, we have to, you know, if I try to log into one of my systems at work, I can't directly just click in from a website. It's going to then, the website is then going to shoot my cell phone a specific message. And I had to set up the cell phone with my specific number to the specific website. So it can only go. And if I don't click yes on my cell phone, I don't get access to the specific website. So these are other types of layers of protection that prohibits just anybody from entering. Okay. Then you've got failure controls, limit or control damage caused by the failure of the system, right? We talk about backups, what's in use when that's going down. And then auditing, taking stock of hardware, software, and data at regular intervals, which we've talked about, right? Generally auditing, which is just checking in. Managing your information security, threats related to internet services, okay? Denial of service, attack based on flooding the company's internet servers with a huge amount of traffic, right? So we know when tons of traffic starts flowing in, boom, it slows down. That's happened to Facebook, it's happened to Twitter, it's happened to Instagram, it happens to pretty much all of those social media things because it can get hit hard and then boom, combust, stop, shut down, right? Next, of course, we've got identity theft and brand abuse, using another person's identity to carry out various acts, and extortion. that was that was the word I was looking for earlier. These Google reviews are basically forms of extortion. They do low reviews, and they're usually to like Michelin star, very high rated, elite top restaurants where they know that there's a huge amount of money. We're talking about, where your check averages are over $100, $200, $500 per person. So extortion, great place, right? They know that they've got thousands, tens of thousands of dollars in the bank. Boom. You want this? You want these reviews removed? Pay us. Ooh, crazy. Google had to get involved. Pretty intense, right? Because anybody can post that. Who is it? Were they even in the dining room? Did they ever enter? No, they were coming from completely other countries. Wild stuff. All right. Managing your information security. Of course, we've talked about this before. Firewalls, right? Acts as a barrier between information system and the internet. Intrusion detection software monitors network activity in order to identify intruders, people that are not approved to be on that network. AI software, artificial intelligence to detect intrusion attempts or unusual activity. Again, this is something that's just running in the background so that it's checking. Okay, is there any unusual activity? Oh, we've got a VPN number, like a login from coming from another place. What's going on here? Something's trying to access this from, you might even get that when you try to log into, for example, Gmail does that to me all the time. If I try to access my Gmail account from, maybe I go to a public library or I'm at a friend's house or something, and I'm logging into their internet. Are we sure this is you? Verification, log in, re-log in. That is AI that's checking that and saying there's something different about you. Always log in from this VPN address or this device, and now you're logging in from another device. Are we sure that this is you? And then of course, strong passwords. Changing those regularly, utilizing. There's kind of the passwords that you can get that are set up by a computer, which are usually like 17 to 25 characters long and really wild combinations. Those are good, but they do get stored on your computer. So then if somebody had access to your computer, then they could easily just log into that. So five of one, half a dozen of the other, but definitely strong passwords and changing them consistently. And then we've got ethical, legal, and moral constraints, professionalism, acting to meet standards set by a profession in terms of conduct, competence, and integrity, ethics, beliefs concerning right and wrong that guide behavior, and morality, of course, individual character, personal beliefs governing right and wrong. Okay, all of those coming in along with, essentially society and public safety, along with state and legal legislation. Next, we've got code of conduct, right? We have code of conduct, student code of conduct here. We've got an instructor code of conduct. We have rules, right? Members of professional associations are expected to abide by a set of principles that set out minimum standards of competence, conduct, and behavior. All right, professional responsibilities, obligations to their employees, public, and the state. And then we go into social issues like employment, demand for skilled information system professionals outstrips supply, skills shortage. There's a huge skill shortage. The digital divide, those with access to technology and able to obtain information, and those who are unable to gain and access technology information, right? There's a huge digital divide. Not just in, worldwide, but city to city, okay? Rural to urban, where, there's long been a debate and conversation about how good and strong internet is in rural areas, right? How does that hurt or harm people? We look at back at the pandemic, what happened? Say you're living out in the rural area and all of a sudden your kids got sent home because nobody was going to school in person, and your internet just doesn't reach because you're in a valley and the internet infrastructure is not there, right? US infrastructure for internet is not that great, unfortunately. Go to other countries. I was working in Serbia at one point, and I had better, faster internet than I had in the center of downtown Chicago, which seems pretty wild, right? But this is the reality. You look at, who owns and controls these? Why haven't we been building this infrastructure? Why hasn't been more of a push for that? Where's the demand for that? Where's the money that's coming from it? Where's the backing from this? Okay. You look at like Elon Musk and his Starlink, right? Starlink is the idea is to get internet all the time, and anybody can have it. So personal privacy, use of your computer, oopsies, we skipped ahead, computer-based information, quality and accuracy of personal data held on individuals, and the use of computer monitoring. And then, of course, we've got ethical, legal, and moral constraints. Introduction of new information technology has a ripple effect, raising new ethical, social, and political issues that must be dealt with on the individual, social, and political use. Right now, we're seeing that with ChatGPT, right? AI chat. There were, you can do your own research on what's going on with that. Okay, I highly suggest it. There's some really cool things going on, and some other really kind of scary things, right? What you can get, what age appropriate, right? What's accessible to different ages? What are the blocks? Oh, are you of legal drinking age to enter this website? All you have to put in is a certain, a birth date. Why don't we have it that we have to put in identification codes, right? Maybe that would give us a little bit more of a control aspect here. Well, what if I was trying to do research and I wasn't of age, but I was doing research and I wanted to know? Okay, so all of these things you start to thinking about, right? What does the impact have? And then, of course, we've got these issues have 5 moral dimensions: rights and obligations, property rights and obligations, system quality, quality of life, and accountability and control. All right. And then, of course, we've got computer crime, theft, altering computer records to disguise the theft or money of unauthorized use of companies' information systems, software theft, which is piracy, making unauthorized copies of software, right? We all know about that. Back in the day, right? We're thinking about movies. Who remembers when people would go to the, say it was a new release. So it's only being shown in certain movie theaters in certain cities. And somebody goes in with their video camcorder, and records from their seat the movie, so that then they can sell that out on the internet, okay? Or burning CDs, right? You look at Spotify, you look at LimeWire or Napster back in the day. What was happening? What was going on, right? And then, of course, you've got data theft, stealing sensitive information, or making unauthorized changes to computer records. And legal issues, of course. 2018 new penalties for failing to comply with the public's right concerning how information on them is gathered, stored, and used. The Computer Misuse Act of 1990, which protects sensitive equipment and data from unauthorized access, alteration, and damage. Privacy and electronic communications regulations in 2003, and Copyright Designs and Patents Acts of 1988. Protection against unauthorized copying of design, software, printed materials, and other works. All right. Next up, we've got that automation we talked about for your discussion. Order and pay at the table. Right, here we go. We've got a little bit of this. Safety, speed, and efficiency have always been important pieces of the dining experience, but in the wake of COVID-19, they become more important than ever. Okay, in the guide of the restaurant guest during COVID-19, 34% of guests said that contactless or mobile payment availability is now extremely important to their dining experience. And 33% of those guests said that pay at the table technology is extremely important to their dining experience. So that's over, it's basically a third. 2/3 not as important, but a third, yes. So do we want to lose those 34% of diners? No, right? Order and pay at the table technology gives guests ability to order and pay for their meal, convenience, safety, their own device, peace of mind, and I think that's the way we want to look at it, really thinking about options, right? It's available, it's not mandatory. And that's how I would approach it, right? I would approach my menus in the same way. We've got handheld menus and we've got QRC codes. So if you don't want to touch a menu, I get it. You like doing everything on your phone. You want to pay everything contactless. You want to just take your wand and click it, go for it. I want to have that option for you. I want you to be able to pay whatever makes you feel good. But I also want that person who walks in with cash to be able to pay for their meal or their cup of coffee, because I don't like it when I can't, right? I like to pay everything in cash. I don't like using credit, whatever. My decision, right? My life. I like going to places that I can pay in cash. I don't want to go to a place that I can only pay in credit card because I don't want to use my credit card. Okay. You have other people who are going to say, I don't want to go to a place that doesn't have credit cards. Okay. So you want to be able to, I think, appealing to both of those customers, right? Again, it depends upon your establishment and something like that. Like if I'm going to a super fine dining restaurant, I'm not walking in with, a couple $100 to pay down for the meal in cash. Sure, maybe, but probably not. I'll probably put something that's expensive on my credit card. But I'm not going to put something that's cost $5 on a credit card. Just doesn't make sense to me. But again, how we grow up, where we grew up, what generation we're in, it's all going to have different impacts. If you're targeting Gen Z and moving forward, how are you going to appeal to them? I would imagine they want a lot of contactless stuff, right? They want everything done on their device. They don't even want to talk to anybody. They don't even want to look at anybody. Who knows? Maybe they do. I'm just making general assumptions and saying this, but you want to be thinking about where that goes. Okay. So next up, order and pay at the table, Olive Garden, right? Check that out, right? Now I will say, very convenient. You bring your POS tablet. There's no chance then, because we know that theft happens, right? I'm not worried that the server is going to steal my credit card information, or they're going to make a copy of it in the back when they go to ring my card. They're bringing it here. It's all transaction in front of my face. That's why people like that, right? And I get that. I understand that. So the risk, though, is losing face-to-face interaction with servers. Now, I disagree with that. Now, if your tablet is constantly, like if it's mounted on the table, that's one thing. But oftentimes you might have a POS tablet that you are moving, that you're going around from place to place, because you want to think about the other options, right? What's that cost infrastructure on your tablets? How many tables do you have? Every table's going to have a tablet. No, not every tablet is, not every table's ordering and paying at the exact same time. Would there be a need for that? No. So, and as you can see, which is interesting here, we've got GFS, Gordon Food Service, talking about that interaction. And we see an 80% usage rate and no elimination of staff. Pretty great. We went through the assignment, and that is all they wrote, folks. So on that note, if you have any questions, please do not hesitate to reach out. Be well. Knock out week 4 if you haven't done so already. If you've got anything that you need to submit, make sure that you're reaching out to me, letting me know beforehand. Let's finish strong. We've got one more class after this, 2 more assignments. Let's knock it out and finish this block strong. Take care and be well. Bye.